For more on the fight against ISIL, I spoke with Andrew Borene of the Truman National Security Project, a leadership institute on national security. We started our conversation by talking about ISIL's advance in Kobane and why it's so important to prevent the group from getting full control there.
Well, ISIL's been working aggressively to expand the territory that they control all along the Turkey-Syria border. Kobane is really the last major holdout of Kurdish resistance fighters that have been pushing them out of a supply chain that connects much of ISIL's territory between western and eastern Syria. So
what is Turkey's stake then in Kobane and the fact that it needs to stay, they believe, in non-ISIL hands?
To date, Turkey has stationed tanks on the border, clearly has military forces within reach of the city, but has not yet committed to crossing the border to engage in support of the Kurdish resistance. Additionally, negotiations continue with the Turkish government that would allow other Kurdish fighters to move into the city of Kobane along with equipment and weapons in order to expand their ability to fight off the ISIL attacks.
And how close are we to maybe possibly seeing that?
Well, that's a great question. I think that Erdogan has to come to terms with when Turkey engages in the fight against ISIL. I think it is undoubted that they will have to engage in the fight, and it will be now or later. Perhaps the Turks at this time are viewing it that they'd prefer later, and it's a crisis.
Well, and to that point, we heard the UN envoy to Syria actually comparing it to Srebrenica, the slaughter of thousands of people, Muslims in particular, in the 1990s. Is that the type of rhetoric that it's going to take to convince Turkey and others to work together? And these are unlikely bedfellows in some regard. You know, Turkey and Qatar, these are not countries that typically like to work together.
Well, and Turkey and their Kurdish minority. Yeah. And that's really a fundamental piece of challenge for the Turks. Is one of the groups involved in fighting ISIL is PKK, which is viewed as a terrorist organization by the Turks and by the United States and other Western NATO countries. And it creates some complications in terms of determining at what point and how to support the moderate resistance against ISIL. So again, it is an ongoing developing crisis. And I think the struggle against ISIL, everyone understands, is going to be a long-term struggle. The airstrikes have to continue to push them back while an international consensus is established about how we really root them out and destroy them ultimately.
Airstrikes has been the weapon of choice of the coalition. Do they seem to be working?
Again, that's U.S. leadership at this point, U.S.-led airstrikes, U.S.-led coalition to begin that process. I think ongoing as the strategy develops, Chairman Dempsey will be meeting with other leaders this week for a more comprehensive ultimate plan to destroy ISIL. But again, it is a long-term struggle, and I think it's a bit premature to be demanding the ultimate destruction of ISIL in the initial weeks of an international coalition.
All right. Thanks, Andrew Borene from the Truman National Security Project.
Thank you.